Okay. Okay, yes. Can you see my screen?
No, it's not the same.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to share my screen. Okay.
Yes, I can see your screen now.
Okay, okay, fine. I want to pick the material I want to use for this tonight. Is the first one I want to use. Where is it? Okay, is it? All right. So we're looking at a guide to measurement and evaluation, monitoring and evaluation. So basically for NGO. So in NGO, the key word here is monitoring and evaluation. So in monitoring, what are they trying to do? They are looking at, is the money being spent on what they want it to be spent on? That's actually what they are doing. Now, evaluation is talking about impact, what the impacts they have done with the intervention. So in every project, there is a theory of change. They can say, for instance, okay, if girl child stay up to secondary school, she will not be able to get early child, get married on time. Now, they can now say, okay, the more students we can keep in school, the lesser the population of teenage pregnancy we can have. That's the theory of change. So basically, in NGO setting, you say is about two keywords is monitoring and evaluation. Now, for some of us in Afrocentric studies and all that, African studies, our argument is that most of these NGO, they are not even interested about the impacts. They are more interested about the monitoring to be sure that the money is spent on the person they're supposed to spend it on. Let me give an instance. They can design a program and say this for people from age of 18 to 25. Now, if somebody is in need and the person is 26, if somebody is 26 years old benefited from that program, according to the monitoring and evaluation standard, that is a wrongful spending. That is monitoring and evaluation. It's very strict like that. So sometimes they will design the program and say, okay, the nursing, the staff that will take this job must be a nurse. If they employ a midwife for that role, and that midwife can perform the function of a nurse, they will still say is a fraud. So basically, in NGO space, when it comes to monitoring and evaluation, every project has its own focus. And this is actually the difference between monitoring and evaluation and what's it called? Analysis in corporate sector. In corporate sector, they look at profits. Sometimes they don't follow the rules strictly. In corporate organization, they can bend the rules to get to achieve what they do. But in NGO space, they focus more on the rules. They focus more on the rules. On okay, what is this theory of change we are talking about? We want to spend this money. And let me now tell you one of the reasons for that. NGO space is a complicated space for many reasons. One of the reasons is that some of the rich people they use NGO space to cheat the government, to escape the tax. Some of the white people overseas, they say, okay, I'm giving money to the less privileged, so I will not pay my tax. They can give them tax holiday. And again, some rich people believe that NGO is a waste of time and resources because those who are actually managing the NGOs, they're actually profiting from it. One of the persons who hated them is Elon Musk. And you know how he scattered the USAID. So let's now come back now. So monitoring and evaluation is the methodological process of collating, assessing information to determine the effectiveness of social program or intervention. All right. So social program or intervention, look at, okay, is it doing what we want to do? Okay. Now we now say M&E is important to determine if a program is effective and define what needs to be assessed and which information is important to gather. So here is not every information that is needed. And as I was talking about, conceptual difference between monitoring and evaluation. When the program is not implemented according to what is supposed to be done, then evaluation will be, the impact will not be there. Let me give an instance. In most NGO spaces, they focus more on attendance. If you go for programs, come and write attendance, oh, because they understand that attendance can be falsified. Some people will not come, yet they will write attendance. So we have this progression in NGO space, they write attendance. I give an instance, that was the program I attended in Lagos. We attended the program for 2 days, and the guy told us to sign for 3 days attendance. And they only pay us at transport allowance for 2 days. So we see all these things there. So the evaluator in the evaluation stage, what they will see that, oh, people attended the program for 3 days on paper, but in reality, we only attended the program for 2 days. So the MIE department or the programming department, they are more interested in ensuring that every dollar is spent for what it is intended to be spent on. And the reason being that in most cases, this money allocated for a project are not spent on what is supposed to be spent on. I'll give another story too. I was in Meduguri. I was in Meduguri the other day. I was in Meduguri. Then they have some drug for people in the IDP camp. Then in the street, there was a boy, a lady, a girl of 12 years old. She was sick and she needs medication. So what did I do? I now told them, oh, give medication to this girl. They said, no, 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 they cannot give it to her. The drug is actually meant for those in the IDP camps. So it's not meant for those who are not in IDP camp. But the person was sick. So the question now becomes, where is our humanity? You see somebody who is sick, who needs the drug and treatment, but because the person is not in the IDP camp. So when they are writing the proposal says provide medication assistance and treatment to those in the IDP camp. So these are the issues we have in MIE space. These are the issues we have in MIE space. So now let's go ahead. We now said MIE plans are best developed during the design phase. You see now. So when they are writing for proposal to get the funding is when they determine what are we tracking. Tomorrow I will go into details of that. So they ask what are we tracking? What constitutes success? Let me give an instance again. In Lagos, we did a program like that. Look at this one. Some of the theory of change, some of them are spurious or fallacious. They are not real. They are not authentic. But let me now tell you something. In Africa, we accept whatever they bring to us. We say, let's just collect the money from them. We don't care. In a project we did in Lagos, I was the team leader. And the theory was that many Nigerians, they are traveling overseas to Europe and they go by road. They will leave Lagos, they will go to Kano. From Kano, they will cross to Niger Republic. From Niger, they will cross Sahara Desert, they will get to Libya. When they get to Libya, they will try to cross the Mediterranean Sea to get to Italy. So these white people now came to Nigeria and said, okay, you talk to youths on the street. Tell them that if they want to go to Europe, going by road is not good because they can die. Let them understand the risks involved so they will stop traveling. That was the message. Now, when we now go out to tell the people that, oh, don't travel illegally or irregularly, you are going to die. People will say, all die and I die. Some people are just entering last week, they succeed. I will succeed that that person succeed. Those who die, it is they are destined to die. So we now realize that actually the fear of death was not discouraging them from moving. People are still moving. They're not surprised that some people who actually passed through Libya, they stranded in Libya, they cannot cross to Europe, they brought them to Nigeria, they say enter the same road for the second time. Why? Because in Nigeria, they have nothing to do. Most of them are O levels, they don't have qualification to get a good job that will fetch them good salary. So they feel like they have no opportunity in Nigeria, they have to look for opportunity overseas. So now what I'm bringing out is that the theory of change is wrong. And in NGO space, we keep silent from these wrong assumptions by these international organizations who believe that they understand our problem more than ourselves. So now, if I have having discussion with them, and I had one discussion with someone, one of them one day, we now have discussion, and I said, look at Abraham Maslow's scale of human needs. We have food, clothes, shelter, and safety. Human beings are more concerned about food before they think of safety. Safety is, oh, if I enter that road, I can die. But basically, I'm here, I'm hungry. If I don't eat, what happens? I will die. So, as the person who entered the road want to travel, the person had decided to say, well, anything happens, I'm okay for it. Because even when I stay, nothing will happen to me. I'm going to die as well. So, what I want to bring out is that in monitoring and evaluation is a delicate process between we Africans and the donors. So those in MIE department, they have a difficult task to manage the interest of the donors and manage the interest of the implementers, the NGO you are working with. Because sometimes the idea the white man has in their head when they are designing their program is not talking to the reality. And we have to, when you are writing your report, you have to write your report to speak to the original objectives of the project as defined before they granted the funding. So it's a difficult situation. So sometimes in MI department, you have to mobilize evidence to support something which is not, how do I explain this one? How do I narrate this story? So you have to just pan a bit to just justify, okay, we are making impact. So in most time, the impact is not there. I'm just letting you understand the space. So know where you are working. We have to play our. So to know where you belong and to understand how to
I
balance
actually
the interest.
encountered something like
Hello?
that.
Hello?
Yeah, I actually encountered something like that. When I
Okay, tell me
was,
about it. Tell me about it. Tell me about
yeah,
it.
actually, I was managing director of the organization I told you about, when adolescent learning. So there's this proposal we are writing, and my boss actually was saying different because of all the programs like that. So that I didn't think that they were not going to show that from. So there are some organizations that they really had a lot of programs more than the programs
Okay.
they are trying to see how eligible we are qualified for the funding. So because I was
Yeah.
also they are part of the starting and planning writing. So we have to, when we are writing our audit, we have to quantify some data in order to use to measure the data.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I understand. That's why I said I understand you.
Uh-huh. So MIE department and the finance, they are the people who determine how you are going to get funding. They are the people that determine how you are going to get the funding. They understand it. And the procurement. They say buy 50 bags and some NGO will buy 20 bags and they write 50. So how are you going to justify that? You know, it's a difficult situation anyway. Now, let's go to theory of change. So theory of change, how a program or intervention creates a change in a situation or community. A theory of change describes the most important processes, drivers or mechanism needed to create the change. The development of a theory of change can be based on research information, complemented by an intuitive and experiential understanding of how things works. Now, this is the problem. Look at it, intuitive. Most of this theory of change are crafted by the donors. They don't understand the reality or the context. So when they come, they say, oh, this is your problem, this is your solution. Without experiential, look at that experiential part. Experiential understanding of how things work. So what we see is that when they want to do a project, they can spend 10 million naira to do baseline assessment. Baseline, they call it baseline assessment. The baseline assessment is for them to understand the problem, like the local people. Now, implementation, they can spend 5 million. Now, evaluation of the project, they can even spend 10 million again. Look at it. Implementation itself, 5 million naira. Assessment study, 10 million. Now, evaluation, 10 million, making 25. Making 25. So they spend more money on baseline and the end line, and on the project itself, they spend little. So now this is the catch. Most of the baseline study is conducted by white people, the donors, and the end line too. Most of them they do it, and that's what we call midline assessment. That means when the project is going on, is a midline assessment to see if the program is on track. So theory of change tells you if we do A, B will happen. If you do C, it will lead us to D. That's the theory of change. So examines our ideas and assumption on how change is expected to happen. It can be very difficult to interpret the results of an evaluation without any program theory. So as I was telling you, every theory of change, every project has a theory of change. Okay, if we do this thing will stop. Look at it in Nigeria now. There is one going on in GBV space. They call it online violence. Online violence. They keep agitating. But me, I come back and say, look, my theory of change as an African man is that, look, why should a girl be sending their nudes outside? Why? That's my own. So if truly our girls, they are properly brought up in our Islamic tradition or Christian tradition and African tradition, they will not even be sharing it in the first instance. Let alone a man will now use that to blackmail them. Then the question is that in Saudi Arabia, in Gulf countries, or in Israel, do we have this kind of issues there? So when Africans, we are de-Africanizing our values and culture, we are going to be facing problem which is not our own. So in the first instance, should we be doing it? No. So that means our intervention should start from the school, from the orientation. So, well, a Western man is behaving like this. You don't need to behave like a Western man to show that you are modernized. No. Behaving like a Western man doesn't guarantee that you are modernized. And look at, what's it called, same-sex marriage. They want to force on Africans. It's not in our culture in any way. So, but they want to force it on us. So these are the challenges we have. We have a project too on ILO. The coordinator was telling us that, look, there is a money on the table. However, there is a look at the theory of change. Oh, they could not agree who is a woman. So in the founder's definition of a woman is a naturally born woman and also a trans woman, meaning that a man who changes sex to a woman is also a woman. But this our coordinator is a Christian, saying, no, I don't want to compromise my Christian faith. A woman is a woman born as a woman. Anybody who changes sex to a woman is not a woman. But the money is on the table, dollars is on the table. So sometimes we find this complication. And again, look at abortion pills. They will say, go and share it to small girls, teenagers, without their parental consent. So these are the challenges we are seeing there. So in MIE requires emotional intelligence. Because if you want to stay in the business of NGO, you have to understand, okay, what is it that donor want to read? What does success means to them? You have to come to theory of change. So theory of change is what I will now tell you to understand, okay, for them, there is a theory of, as I was telling you the other time, traveling to Europe by road. So their own theory of change is that if we can educate many Nigerians that they will die on the road, they will not travel again. But it's a lie. Another theory is that oh, people are not aware that the road is dangerous, that's why they are traveling. Some people are aware of the danger on the road, they say go, but the theory of change cannot speak to that. And you know, some Nigerians, before they travel, they go and meet herbalists like Edo State. They say, Baba, I want to travel overseas by road. Oh. I want to follow Niger. Will I succeed? Will I get to Italy? The man, Baba will do juju for them. I say, don't worry, you will not die. Go. You go and meet a pastor. Pastor will pray for them. And that's African reality. So a white man who is now saying, you will die. And somebody whose herbalist has prayed for, Babalawo has prayed for that, he will travel and succeed and come back to Nigeria with a big money. And you are now saying that you will die. They will say, I will not die. My pastor, my imam, my traditionalist told me that I will not die. They will believe, because in Africa we believe in faith, fatalism, that my destiny cannot be changed no matter what happens. So, but a white man, they have a scientific definition of life. If you do A, you get to B. But in African context, it doesn't work that way. And in Western man brain, there is no juju. So that's where MIE people have to just say, okay, what do we do now? How do we manage it? So the theory of change in most cases is not speaking to African reality and context. So you have to do two things now. If you don't want to betray your own commitment, spiritual or cultural allegiance, you have to find a way to blend what they do not want to read in your MIE reports and what you want. That's what you do. I work with another NGO in Lagos. They are doing training for people, and when they run the training for them, they will say we have trained people, but after training them for job, about 70% do not get job. That's a failure. But how do they calibrate their success? They say we have trained 120 people on how to write their CV, go for job interview and all that. However, the people you have trained, they are not getting jobs. So they have to reframe their theory of change. That, okay, when you are training people to understand how to go for job interview, if I train the person and the person didn't get a job, have I failed? You have to change it. So now tracking, okay, we train 200 people, how many person can we place on a job? They now started to track. That's their success. So basically, it's very complicated, very complicated. And to give you a whole picture, people ask the question that since the white man has been giving African money since 1960s, where are we? What have we done with it? All the money they are pumping, is it helping us to move out of poverty, or we are still living in poverty? So I'm releasing this one because the first one on MIE. Tomorrow I'll go deeper, but just to understand the terrain, the landscape of what's it called, MIE, the challenges of trying to look at what are the interests of the donor, what's the interest of the NGO, and what is the people saying, the context in which you are operating your business. All right, let's go to some of the terminologies now. So input are the resources. So in MIE, in proposal writing and also in MIE. So when you are doing your MIE, you have to revert to your project proposal. So you have to make sure that what you write your proposal, your result and MIE speak to those things you propose you want to do. Now, if you cannot achieve them, you have to provide explanation. At the start of this project, we said we want to reach 5,000 young girls. Now, we can only reach 4,000. You have to provide explanation. Okay, because at a point, the government didn't give us approval to go to schools. So we will not start. We plan to go to schools in 6 months. We only go to school in 3 months because government delayed the approval for us to go to schools. And we cannot go to schools without government approval. You provide, that's input. So these are the resources you need to implement your project program, such as staff, expertise, infrastructure, soil, and all that. Then activities. What do you do? What are you going to do? So here we say we want to go to schools, you need instructional material, maybe you are going to provide them with snacks and all that. What are the activities you are going to do? Like a debate competition, activities and all that. They look at output. What are the products or services created and delivered by the program? For example, what are the tangible things? Okay, after the program, many girls they decided that they will abstain from sex from as a teenager. You can look at that. They look at outcomes. Then what are the outcomes? So now there are two things I want to put attention to now: outcomes and output. So difference between output and outcome. So output are the products or services created and delivered by the program. These are the tangible things. Then what are the outcome? Short-term and intangible change that occur as a result of the program. So harvest, something you can see. The impact. Let's go to the impact now. The impact imply bigger, longer term changes the communication, organization, society, and environment as a result of the program outcome. School teachers, so that's what we are looking at now. Now let's go to the aims and objectives. All right, we talked this. I think we actually exhausted this already. Anyway. Let's talk. All right. So tomorrow I'll only focus on. I'll focus on. I'll focus on what's called log frame. Yes, log frame, and go deeper on that. All right. So let's do this one tonight. Let's stop here tonight so that those who are going to join us tomorrow, they can have some of the things we have discussed today. All right. Thank you for your time. Okay. Then I will share your form for the certificate where you're going to fill the form for what's it called? Certificate, name for certificate. We start processing from tomorrow. So Saturday, everybody will get a certificate.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Welcome, sir.
All right, good night. Bye bye.